Hey, I'm Kurt Ballou, and on this episode of Demovids, I want to talk about my Room Sound Signature Series drum library. I think it's pretty rad, and I hope you guys like it too. I was really disappointed with the way a lot of other drum libraries sounded. You know, a lot of them have a lot of effects, reverbs, compression, EQ and stuff kind of baked into the samples that you're not able to remove. So if you get kind of painted into a corner by all the effects that the designer of the sample library thought sounded good. For me, I like to be able to choose what I'm doing in terms of EQ and compression and all that stuff. And I like to capture drums in a way that's sort of organic and dynamic, and then just push them to the limit at the mix side of things. One thing that's been really awesome to hear as people have been using this thing to create songs of their own using this sample library is that I hear the sound of drums that I recorded on recordings that I don't even know. Like just today, actually, Steve Brodsky posted this video that I think it's probably going to be like a demo for a new Mutoid Man song, and he used my sample library and also this guitar pedal that I built that I let him borrow, and it totally sounds like something that I recorded here. So this library is a bunch of samples that were recorded at God City using the microphones and microphone preamps here. Each drum and cymbal is an instrument, a virtual instrument that's made up of a lot of different velocity layers and a lot of different multiple hits within each velocity layer. And then each drum that's struck is captured both by a close mic on that drum as well as overheads, various room mics, and all the other drum mics around the kit. So if you enable the full bleed option, then you get a chance to hear, that drum being struck in, the snare drum, for example, being struck by the mic that's just on the snare drum, but you also hear it in the bass drum mic and the tom mics and the overheads, and all that bleed is scalable. So you can actually make a drum set that sounds like really drums that were actually recorded in the room. This sample library runs within Kontakt Player. Kontakt Player is free. So if you buy the Kurt Ballou Signature Series drum library, you don't need to purchase anything else. The way samples are fired within the library is via MIDI. So if you are a composer working at home, all you need to do is create one MIDI track or create an instrument track and start programming MIDI. If you've already programmed MIDI using another sample library, we have a MIDI learn function that will enable you to route your existing programming to these samples in whatever configuration you need. If you're starting from scratch, we have our own assignment of MIDI notes, and that's obviously flexible. You can also take already recorded acoustic drums and convert those to MIDI. In Pro Tools, I use a program called DRT, which is made by Massey, but there's other MIDI, audio to MIDI converters out there that you can use in whatever DAW you have. I like firing it from MIDI because it gives me maximum flexibility of my MIDI velocity, and I feel like that's really the key to making programmed drums sound organic. If your MIDI velocity is too great, you can scale that down and then adjust the overall gain. So if somebody is a light hitter or an inconsistent hitter, you can then make them more consistent by squashing that MIDI velocity, and then you can raise that MIDI velocity so they're hitting harder, or if they're hitting too hard, you can back it off. A lot of times programmed drums sound fake because all the velocities are too high, so this gives you an opportunity to just globally back that thing down without going in and editing your MIDI. Within Pro Tools, you can actually edit the MIDI to increase the dynamic range, which is a trick that I use a lot. One of the audio examples I'm going to show you is a recording that Ben Kohler from Converge did playing Converge's song Dark Horse, and there's a lot of snare rolls in that. And the E-kit that we used was, was a decent kit, but it didn't really capture his dynamics as well as a real drum and microphone would. So even though the samples are all there to reproduce his dynamics, the capture from the E-kit wasn't, didn't have quite the dynamic range that I wanted. So I went in and edited the MIDI dynamics within Pro Tools to create a wider MIDI dynamic range than what was captured from the drum brain. Stay tuned for more episodes about the Kurt Ballou Signature Series drum library.
Featuring no Nate.
Featuring a complete and total lack of Nate Newton.
Demovids, demovids, demovids.